continuing on with this theme of kind of status report on enterprise architecture, what I want to look at now is the kind of the near future, where things are going right now. Much of this already exists, but it's very unevenly distributed. And interestingly, most of the development is happening in what I call the small countries: Australia, Sweden, New Zealand, Canada, Netherlands particularly perhaps, Belgium, all of the countries where people are forced to be generalists just because there aren't enough people in a technical pool, and we're not crippled by hyper-specialism. So the first thing that's happening is that there's a very clear need and action towards breaking out of the IT-centric box. If we look at classically, TOGAF 7 was built around, up to TOGAF 7 was very much inside in. It was IT looking at itself, up to an enterprise-wide scope, yes, but it was still only IT. Then slowly they added data, applications, and finally what they called business architecture, which in essence was anything not IT that might affect IT. So that's going from the inside in to first beginnings of looking at the inside out at the outer world. The beginnings of looking at things like customer journey. But we need outside in, the world outside looking in, as in the other side of the customer journey, the other side of the supply chain. And also we need outside out, the story that is the enterprise beginning to look at itself. We're breaking out of big IT in large organizations. Most organizations now are reliant on cloud and don't run their own data centers. We need to look much more at end-to-end on some often very complex supply chains and delivery chains, right the way through, not just through the IT, but where IT interweaves with the physical world. We look at digital transformation and realize that digital transformation is a bit of a misnomer. Any transformation, first of all, is about people first, and the technology is actually a secondary concern. The technology enables possibilities, but it isn't the thing that transforms. And finally, we've got very human-oriented concerns about where the product is information and where there are huge legal and other complications arising from the way that we handle personal information and these other related issues like security. So we're moving very much beyond the classic IT towards a whole of enterprise view, and we need fundamentally new methods, frameworks, tools and more to make it work. But the next trap is business centrism, folk thinking that the organization is the center of the world. There isn't. There is no center to any organization. If we look at the classic BDAT stack, we've got a huge problem where the old idea was that we had enterprise architecture is business architecture plus data and applications plus technology, BDAT. But we then realized that the idea of business architecture being anything not IT that might affect IT wasn't enough. So we had the idea that business architecture is inside and outside at the same time. What we're looking at now is even more crazy, where we have the business architecture outside the enterprise architecture and inside it. We've got enterprise architecture, business architecture, enterprise architecture, business architecture, data, applications, technology. We need to do something better than this. We've also got to break free from the machine or money oriented view of the organization, the kind of Taylorist world where people are plug-in interchangeable units, to something that's much more human, much more service-oriented approach to organisations and how organisations operate. So all of this demands a much broader role for the enterprise architect, very much the role of the generalist in working in parallel with domain specialists, but the one who looks over the entirety, and where the basic approaches are exactly the same for every type of enterprise, every context, every type of story, every type of scale. We've got an emphasis on story, and we've also got a real awareness of fractality, that the same patterns repeat at multiple layers. So the way that enterprise architecture is moving is not moving away from IT, but including IT in a much, much, much larger scope, where it's literally the architecture of the enterprise. That's where enterprise architecture is going.